I think this is like 10.
Some of us.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay, so let's try this one more time. Let's see who has joined us here. iPhone, I guess that it must be you, Nancy.
It is. My cat is meowing like crazy, so I'm going to go on mute.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that was you. Okay, I would like to call the October 3rd, 2022 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors workshop meeting to order at 7 p.m. In attendance are myself, Chairman David Gerstenhaber, Vice Chair Donna D, Supervisors Morris, Johnson, and Dowling. Also in attendance are our Township Operations Manager, Jeffrey Eastburn, Township Controller and Office Manager, Melissa Ortega, and the Township Secretary, Sarah Pattons. And there are 5 members of the public. So now I'd like to stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance,
To the flag
of the
of the
United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. No, we did not synchronize. Everyone was off base tonight. We're going to practice that. Another dress rehearsal. All right, so now I will like to bring the meeting to our public comments section. This public comment may include any comments relating to tonight's agenda items. Commenters must state their name, whether they are a resident or of the township or a non-resident taxpayer in the township. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. So do we have any public comment? All right, so not hearing any public comment, I can move to our first order.
Okay. So I'm going to introduce Shelley McCoy and Lisa Sweet. They're going to give us the Avon Grove Library Board report. So thank you so much for being here. I know you were here before during the COVID craziness, and I'm looking forward to hearing the report.
So if you'd like to speak, there's a little voice button on the thing. It'll turn green, and then the camera will turn to you, and then you can speak.
Got it. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Shelley McCoy, as Donna said, and I'm here to introduce Lisa Sweet, who is the interim director of Avon Grove Library. And Lisa has been interim for quite a while now, as we are in the process of trying to hire a director for the library. So that's why it's been a little while since you've seen me. I've been the representative for at least 6 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And like we said, it was a little strange during COVID. Oh, let's wait to the report. So we're pleased to be here today in person. And we want to give you a little information about the library and also take any questions that you have. What I have handed out to those here in the township building is a one-pager report that gives some quick information about the library, including the population served and our circulation and our programs, and our October calendar. So you have that as well. You can see what's coming up. And it's been great to work with the township to get things up on the website to promote some of the great programs that the library does. I wondered if Lisa, you wanted to talk more about the annual report or anything on the program?
Sure. Well, the annual report is pretty condensed. We had a fantastic 2021 after, a bumpy 2020 COVID. We shut down for 3 months, just like everybody else in the country did. We were the first library in the Chester County system to open immediately with full hours. We resumed our full schedule of hours through all of our programs virtual on the turn of a dime instantaneously. And we did very well adjusting how we needed to to keep the staff of the library safe as well as all of our patrons. 2021 back in full swing. This past April of 2022, we resumed in-person programming on a restricted basis. We required our programs to have registration, and we limited our numbers to make sure we could keep everybody, staff and customers safe. We've since able to increase those numbers as we learned how to work within our physical space in the library and some new programming. So we are back in full swing. We have adult programs again, virtual as well as in person. We had a fantastic summer reading program with numbers comparable to prior to COVID for our kickoff and our closing parties. And everything is really, as much as it can be, back to normal at the library. We're doing well. We greatly appreciate Franklin Township's support financially, as well as Shelley said, having some of our programs linked directly to your website. We appreciate that, and we look forward to continuing that relationship.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Welcome. We answer any questions you might have. I also wanted to mention something that we didn't bring up, which was a story walk at Penn Township Sports Park, right? Yes. So Penn Township received a grant for an outdoor educational classroom center. And part of that is a story walk that we help collaborate with, making sure that the purpose behind a story walk was executed correctly. And then our youth services manager and team had insight into the actual books that are part of the next 6 months of the story walk. And I would encourage anybody who has a chance to pop over there and see it. It's a fantastic outdoor classroom space. A little jealous, I'm a retired Girl Scout leader and I absolutely would use that space when I was active. The story walk is really quite neat. It's set up in a full circular walk, and it's large enough that you can't really see to the other side of the circle. They maintain a lot of the natural landscaping within the story walk. And there's 12 stations as you go around reading the particular book of the month. The pages are displayed and protected, and you move from one station to the next, reading the particular book. And any, what I call it, any moral or lesson within the story. They've really done a nice job. There's 3 different places with benches to rest. There's 2 bridges that go over the creek that runs through there. It turned out better than I could have expected. And I hope it becomes a really utilized space for all the communities within the area. It's kind of cool.
So I'm just curious, so when you say a story, so is it like just a couple of pages or?
So the book, oh shoot, I should know the title. The book is about a dinosaur and teaching him not to eat his classmates. I don't have the title with me right now, but so Penn Township purchases a book and then they kind of pull the pages apart. And the entire book is displayed throughout the 12 stations. And so as you go along, you're reading the story and going around the story walk. And it'll be changed out once a month. I believe for the next 5 months, books chosen for the story walk. It's not going to be great. It's a unique style.
So what's the age group? So we're talking.
So it's a younger age group.
Yes,
yeah. It's geared more to the younger age group. I would say, preschool, early elementary.
And this is at the library, or is this?
No, this is at the Penn Township Sports Park.
Penn Township Sports.
So we go up 896, 796, go over Route 1. It's the facility and space on the left where we have held outdoor movies. And so you go through the parking lot. It's kind of tucked back more towards the wooded area. You can pass all the hills and it's set back in there. I believe there's 3 different Eagle Scout projects that came together for us. There's a podium made. There's I guess you would call it more like a blackboard space for any outdoor educational programming, and then all the benches. It was all Eagle Scout projects.
Excuse me, someone texted me
just to make sure everyone can hear this evening. Melissa, Sarah, can you hear us?
We just need to be better at turning on our microphones. I didn't turn my microphone on.
Okay.
So, and I just had a question for you. Oh, so one of the things that we wanted to do is, utilize our website to promote community events and services. So if there's media or a blurb that you want to talk about or you want to particularly promote, please just talk to Jeff and he'll put it up there. So like the story walk would be a perfect example of something that people might not have heard about. And if it goes up on the website, at least Franklin Township residents surprisingly seem to look at our website quite a bit. So, we've got our Facebook as well. So that's something
I
that
believe there's a newspaper article that I can get to you. One thing that I would like to mention,
Mhm.
I approached one of our staff members, my circulation staff member, who is, I guess a hobby of hers, an interest of hers in genealogy. And I asked her to create an intro to genealogy adult event. And so that is coming up this month. It's a 1 hour intro class.
Mhm.
She's basically sharing the knowledge that she has gathered over the last few years and doing this for her on a personal basis. And we have quite a few patrons who come into the library because ancestry.com on the public computers at the library is free to use. During COVID, they expanded that. And so while we were shut down, we could access ancestry.com for free at home. But they've since pulled that licensing back. It is available in all the Chester County libraries for free. And we do have quite a few patrons coming in and using it and asking questions. Rita Walsh is our staff member who will be presenting that intro class later on in this month. It should be on the calendar there. Yeah. Monday night the 24th. It is by registration only. If we fill up, we may have another intro class, and depending on the participation that we have, there may be a 201 class to follow the 101 and see how it goes. Jeff, I can get you some information on that as well.
So this is, so we have, I think we have links directly to your website, but I just, this document here, just the calendar, some highlights of stuff. This is something that we could easily just pop up on our, so if you, every month, if you send this to us, we can, I don't know if you generate something like this every month, but if you do, we can certainly put it up on our website and get more interest, so.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
I just wondered, I was so excited to hear they were working with Penn Township at their facility. What I was hoping we could do, we want to put in a free library at our new healing garden over in our township park. And I was hoping beyond hope we could get some kind of like a reading morning or something. Can we use you as a resource to figure out how to get that stuff started in our park?
Absolutely.
That would be wonderful, because we just put the garden in. We're real excited about it, and we think we could do some really good projects with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the library would absolutely love to partner with you. When you say free library, are you talking about one of the little lending libraries?
Exactly. And I have tons of friends that have garden books and nature books that we can put in there. But I was thinking we have a lot of families with young children, and we could do, a reading morning or something like that, and just some other ideas. So I would love to talk to you about it.
Sure. So I'm going to give you a contact person. If you're looking for something along the way of a toddler story time at a particular location, when the weather is nice again.
Right.
You would contact Lisa Sherwood. She's our youth services manager, to see if we have space in our calendar with our youth services staff to do an outreach. And I'm not sure who's speaking. Is that somebody from the township?
Yeah, that's our-
She's the board member.
That's Dawn. Excellent. Dawn, can I give you
You can leave everything with Jeff there would be wonderful. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there to talk to you in person tonight.
Okay, we'll connect. We'll connects and we'll get that going.
That'd be wonderful.
So it's Dawn Dowden.
Okay.
Lisa and Shelley, I know that this calendar is probably up on your website, and the events that are on here are, some are explained a little bit more on the back, but if you want to find out more, just call the library.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just so we know.
Just a comment, you're very busy. I mean, this is not minor. You've got almost 3 things a day. It's really impressive.
We are, the Avon Grove Library is known for their youth services programming. We try and hit all the ages, all the grades. We have some new STEM programming coming out. We have the Creation Station, which is STEM related. We have the traditional story times. We do quite a bit of outreaches within the communities and certain locations. Our youth services department is happening.
But I see some like teen craft kits that are in the morning on school day. How does that work?
And so we started that, they're called Make and Takes, and they're 3 Friday mornings out of the Fridays in the month. One is geared toward the younger preschoolers, and there's usually a teen and then an adult craft. Those kind of came up during COVID. Well, we couldn't do any in-house programming, but we kind of kept it going. And believe it or not, most of the kids go before lunchtime. And so somehow, either family members are coming in there and picking them up for them, or they're stopping in between if they're at Avon Grove and then go over to Tech, or, you know, they have privileges to go out off campus. But it's a carryover program from COVID, and it's kind of stuck. We've got Lauren Batista is in charge of that, and her crafts have been fantastic. From kaleidoscopes to dream catchers was just a couple weeks ago. Stained glass, faux stained glass. So they're kind of come and get them at 10 o'clock. Sometimes they go quickly depending.
Thank you.
Well, this is Nancy Morris, another supervisor. I just want to say thanks for everything you do. I brought my granddaughter for the first time, and she was just mesmerized by the fish in the tank, which was great. And she's only 18 months old, so it was a great introduction. I also saw that you allow rental, if that's the word, of hotspots. And that's just a terrific idea for so many people who either might be traveling or don't have Wi-Fi access right there. They can rent a hotspot for $1 or $2 a day. I don't know what it is, but it's just a great resource, and it's so close to our township. We're just really, really lucky.
Yeah, it's you get a pretty good bang for your buck. It's $2 a day. There's 3 different rental periods. You can rent a hotspot for either 3, 5, or 7 days. And I don't believe we've ever had any complaints about connectivity. They have to be picked up at the library and returned at the circulation desk. It's not something that can be shipped to another library in the Chester County system or returned on book drops, because it is an expensive item. So yeah, the hotspots are pretty popular, especially in the summer when people are traveling for vacation. But let me go back to the fish. Go back to our fish. And so our summer breeding program was Oceans of Possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
My college-age daughter had a fish tank, and I bribed her and I said, breathe into the library. She wasn't using it at the time. And so we have 4 neon tetras in there. We have 2 Mickey Mouse platies. And then we have Carl, the catfish, who's really an introvert. You've got to be quick to catch him. And he's named after Eric Carl, the author. And our summer closing party was the 3rd week in August. And those fish have been such a draw. I'm hesitant to take them back home. So they're going to hang out for a little while longer. I don't think they're going to be a permanent fixture of the library, because it's my job to clean the tank and change the water. But they're there for the time being, because they have been.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah. The kids
And
love it.
oh my gosh. And it's about the cleanest tank I've ever seen. So you're doing a pretty good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I do get my daughter once in a while to come in and do the super duper heavy cleaning, because it's got Shelley, just asked me to mention, our hotspots, they are a fantastic resource for the community. But we do also as well have 2 Longwood Garden passes. And those are completely free. And the Longwood Garden Pass is a 5-day rental period for up to 9 adults. For all the fantastic shows and events that are at Longwood, those are both usually hot commodities. And they can be, so you cannot put a hold on hotspot like you would a traditional book or DVD at the library, or a first come, first served basis. If somebody calls at 11 o'clock in the morning and we have one available, we kind of put it aside. They have to be in by the close of business that day. Otherwise it goes, back in the counter for wherever, else we need it. But they are completely free, the Longwood passes. And all the Chester County libraries have them within the system. Each have 2 passes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Any other questions?
So this is not the time where we come and talk about money. This is just an update. So I'm not going to go over the not fun stuff and just and talk about, we have a pretty good partnership. We've really tried to upgrade our website and update some of how we interact with the community. So we threw some ideas out there today, but I encourage you, if you come up with your own thoughts, wouldn't it be nice if a township did this? Give us a call and we can talk about it. Because we're always looking for ways to build community and kind of leverage all of our assets, right? We've got websites and Facebook pages, and you have your websites and Facebook pages. We should make sure that we're collaborating and building a community. So please reach out, be creative. We're always willing to at least entertain, your ideas. So.
Well, we appreciate that. And yes, please ask those questions, when the time comes. For finance related things. I know the library in particular, I lead the facilities committee. We're trying to raise money for a lot of the facilities issues. They've been in that building for a while now and things are coming up, and we're gonna try to raise some money as much as we can on the side, but without the township support, we would really be in a world of hurt. So we do appreciate it. And in past years, I'm asked a lot of times, is there still a reason for a library and do people use the library? And COVID has taught us absolutely. The last that people are using the resources online if they can't in person, and then in person. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. Me personally, I hadn't been reading before COVID as much as I would have liked to because of life, right? And I have read since March 2020, 175 books. So you can imagine what that cost would have been for me to buy those or anything else. So I know I'm personally appreciative of libraries offering that.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So any other questions online? Don or Nancy, anything else?
Nope, just so appreciative to have the library. I'm a big
And
user, and it's just a huge part of the community.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
All right.
And I can't wait to connect and see what other trouble we can get into together.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, I will
No,
introduce
actually,
Jessica.
we have to go back to Jim. I think I have.
Yeah, the approval of minutes. Yep.
Yeah, we have to go back. Sorry, Jim.
Oh, yeah, I don't have the right one either.
So, yeah, I'll just make a motion to approve the board supervisors workshop minutes from August 1st, 2022.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Changes? Okay, all in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right.
Oh. Okay, we had Jessica Adams, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, to talk about Act 167, and I think a couple of supervisors had some questions. So we're setting this time aside specifically so we can ask Jessica questions. Jessica, I think I saw you on the call.
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, if people have questions for Jessica, let her hear them.
All right, so I actually have a few. So Jessica, let me just tell you how I approach the document, and maybe you can shed some light on my approach and maybe give me some pointers. So what I did is I had a copy of the actual proposed ordinance from our last meeting. So I had that, I don't know how many pages, it's too big. So I had that document, and then I had the document that was a table, and it talked about, it was listed by sections, by component, and description. And the description in many cases said, you know, you could do this, you could do that. And I went through them side by side. Where I'm having my challenge is I'm trying to figure out, okay, who made the decision on what to do in each of these boxes? Like, for example, on the first, I'm just going to give this an example. On the first page, it said section 105, the municipality should review the notice to municipalities at the beginning, and they should determine if it's necessary to include within sections certain things, right? So you kind of get options to do various things. What I'm not sure of is who made the decision and what decision did they make? And that would help me get a sense of, as I review this by, row by row, what we're doing. The other thing that would be helpful to me also is if I had, and maybe I'm looking at this wrong, I'm assuming we have an old version of this ordinance, and that our job is to update the ordinance based on the recommendations from the state. And that's what this table is about. So it would be helpful to have like a track change version to say, okay, this is what it was. And then see in the track change, this is how we handled section 105 or section 106. Is what I'm saying making sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, no, I understand your questions. Are you good?
Jessica, my only concern would be how much that might cost the township. I know that, if it's going to be thousands of dollars, we need to probably talk about it. But if it's not too much money, then great.
Okay.
Well, I can't sign off on a document I don't understand. So I know we don't have a whole lot of choice, but I need to get a sense of what we're changing and why we're changing it. Though, just so I have that comfort when I sign off on it. And Jessica, I guess the other thing that based on my read of it, I get the sense that we still have that simplified approach, and that's all throughout the document, right? And I think it'd be helpful if, as another activity, you could just say, this is what's changed, this is what stayed the same, and that would be helpful. So I'll just turn it over to you, if you can maybe just give us some direction on how to approach this.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to circle back to the document that you were referring to, I believe is regarding your first question of who made decisions of what options to choose from, so to speak. That was a document that was issued by Chester County Water Resources Authority to assist municipalities in updating their ordinance based on DEP's model ordinance. So as far as those options are concerned, to answer your question outright, that is something that Pete and I had looked through and reviewed based on the existing township ordinance, or the existing stormwater ordinance, and based on the options that are there. Some of them are dictated by what our township's MS4 program is. Some of them the answers are dictated by what's already in your ordinance and giving you the option mostly to make it more restrictive if you so choose.
Right.
So a lot of our decision making was based on what the current ordinance says now, how it's working for the township, are there problems or there concerns. The feedback that we got working with the planning commission was that right now what you have or what's in place now is working for the township. So, there really weren't a lot of changes to the ordinance that were, I'll say, definitively different options. A lot of the changes that were made were the mandatory changes of additions and deletions. But yes, in this document that you're referring to, there are some places where you have an option to choose from. Like I said, a lot of it's based on what is already in your ordinance and how's it working for the township. And a few of them I know specifically that subsection, I think it was the first one you pointed out to, or I think I got it, the 103S, or I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
you had to pick the first one. So are you able to take us through the document and say, okay, this is page one, this is what we did, this is what we changed, this is what we kept the same, or probably more focused on what we changed and why you changed it? Is that something we could do tonight, or we start that process?
That, well, I hesitate only because it would be it could be a very lengthy process. I mean, I can go through the options, if you're just referring to going through this table of options, and what was done, I can try and recap for you. I'm going to jump to your second question though, as far as track changes are concerned. The final document that we issued to the Planning Commission last month was a clean version that did not include the track changes, so to speak, in the sense that a lot of those track changes are those additions and deletions that are mandatory, and just a few of them are the options. I can backtrack, so to speak. I can provide a copy of the ordinance and kind of reopen the track changes so that you can see them. But at the same time, I can try and go through some of these options and try and recap what was done or not done.
So how about this? So how about you share with us the track changes, we'll get it to Jeff and he'll give it to us. But today, maybe you go over the high points, like just, you probably know better than anybody. What's like, maybe not every row on this table, but say, a key point was section such and such. I just want to call your attention to that section. And maybe
Sure.
that will help us when we see the track changes to understand what's going on. Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll go probably quickly over some of them and a little slower over others, where need be.
I think if I just one comment, just so I understand. So reading through the ordinance, and then kind of looking at the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet gave us options based on existing conditions in the township, or it's, I think, as you said, it's either here's where you can make the ordinance more restrictive, and then here are your options based on what kind of township you're in, or what kind of area, not the township, what kind of land area we're talking about, or stormwater area we're talking about. It's not really, the options were pretty restrictive on what we could and couldn't do, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
Right.
you could say that. I'll link, maybe this will help clarify some items too. And I wasn't present at the time for this, but in 2013, the township, and I realize not everybody may have been present for this, township went through a similar process. I think, I'm not sure if Pete was involved at that point or not, but it was a similar process. So this new model ordinance that DEP has come out with is just updating that prior ordinance. They did not reinvent the wheel and create a brand new ordinance. So the township's current ordinance is based on that 2013 model ordinance. This updated model ordinance is something that's required from federal EPA requirements to update. But even from the counties or from DEP standpoint, the updates are really very minimal. And it's still really that first ordinance. It's still really what Franklin has in place now, just to kind of reiterate that. So I don't want to give you the impression that the ordinance has been totally rearranged, reworked, reworded. That's not the case. Just hopefully that puts you at ease a little bit. But I'm happy to kind of,
Yeah, hopefully that makes it easy to point out what has changed, because maybe it's not that much.
sure. Yep. I will do my best here. And then I'll follow up again with a copy that has the track changes turned on again. So if, to make sure we're all looking at the same document, I'm looking at the spreadsheet that is titled at the top with options for modifying versus there is one that's also titled summary of changes. I'm looking at the options for modifying.
Okay, so the table I have is countrywide Act 167 Stormwater Management Plan, list of model ordinance section with options for modifying standards and requirements, June 2nd, 2022.
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yep. And bear with me as I go through this. I'm gonna I gotta read the description quick to reorient myself a little bit.
Yeah, and give us time to find it, so that will help too. So as it tells you the section, just give us just a second to get to it.
So you have a copy of the ordinance in front of you then?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if everybody else does, but I have it
Gotcha.
from the last meeting.
Yeah.
I do. I have it on my computer.
Okay. All right, and now, and bear with, obviously on this document, this options for modifying, it's really just a generalized description. I'll start right at the top there, so to speak, subsection 102.g. And I apologize, I have a copy of the ordinance in front of me, but similar to you, I can't pull up the page reference quickly necessarily.
Yeah, for me, it's page 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there should be about, right, let me see if I can try and incorporate this. So looking at that option, basically, if your municipality is required to have a NPDS MS4 permit, then this statement, which can be included. I believe we included it, but bear with me. Yes, that is something that we included. It's regarding that the federal and state regulations require the municipality to implement a program for stormwater controls. That's just kind of I'm going to say a given statement, being that Franklin Township has or is working on, I'll say, their MS4 permit. Hasn't been issued yet, but it is required. The next section, 103S.
And that's page 6.
Which I believe is, I'm going to say roughly page 12. Admittedly, I am looking at a copy that has track changes, so my page numbers might be a little different than yours. Again, this is looking at MS4 and TMDL implementation. Franklin Township is required to have a TMDL plan, so this subsection is included in the ordinance or has been added. And I believe it was in the previous ordinance as well. The next sections, 104B, C, D, or E, statutory authority. That's just choosing what class township we are, which is second class. Again, that was in the ordinance previously. So that's a good example kind of one of those options that it's just, whatever is applicable to your township.
Jessica?
Yeah.
How have other townships done this? Is there a best practice we could adopt?
Kind of admittedly about the same way that we're doing it here.
Okay.
Whereas the engineer is taking, the old ordinance, Chester County had released a draft ordinance in a Word format with track changes, et cetera. Kind of have the option of, taking that one and incorporating specifics to your township back into their model ordinance or vice versa. Franklin's was pretty well established already, so we just used the existing ordinance as the basis, went through kind of page by page, section by section and just kind of cross-referenced and made the updates.
So this is wait, hang on. This is a pretty lengthy document. Do we want to go section by section here?
So I'm happy to do the high points and then look at the track changes and come back if we have any
Okay.
questions.
So I guess maybe why don't we do that just to kind of facilitate the conversation?
Sure.
Is if there's something, Jessica, that kind of jumps out at you to say, hey, here's something that we needed to address in this document that might be of interest to the board. We can talk about one or two of those items, or however many items there are of those in nature. And then once we get the track changes, we can go through those and see if there's any further questions.
Sure.
And this is just, I
Yeah.
just don't want to spend hours going through line by line on this if we don't necessarily need to, so.
Yep. I totally understand, because it's really
Right, and
fascinating of a
think-
topic.
right. I think we pay, I mean, I don't want to, this isn't just about money, but we do pay your organization probably about $150 an hour. So if this is going to take you 10 hours of work, I'd like to know that up front.
They already have the document. They have the document. They're just going to email it to us.
Well, she's
Yeah.
going to do the track changes.
Yep.
Yeah, she has the document with the track changes. She's going to email it to us. It'll take 15 minutes.
Will that suit you, Anna?
Right, that's what we're agreeing to do is we're agreeing to go through the document today, the high points, the areas that would probably, probably not contentious is the wrong word, but would be the ones that we really should be paying attention to. So hopefully Jessica can do that in a reasonable period of time. And then the track change version will come to us through Jeff, and then we'll look at that. And if we have any additional questions, we can let Jeff know, and we can decide how we want to handle that. But yeah, I think that's a good compromise. I
Great.
just need to know what's changed and
Right.
like, yeah. So like, for example, when Jessica was talking about second class township, we had no choice, right? So that's like not a big, I'm glad you did it, but it's not like a big thing we have to talk about. But there was things where there was an option 1 and an option 2. Like I'm thinking about 106B. That may be one that you want to point out to us and say, well, we decided to pick option 1 and this is why we did it.
Yep.
And, yeah, that part. So.
Okay. No
Mr.
problem.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Jessica a question?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Hi, Jess. How you doing?
Hi, Guy. Good. How are
I
you?
think that I know what a heavy lift this is, but I'm going to try to ask a simple 30,000 foot question. When I go to the matrix of minimum mandatory ordinance standards, I'm equally concerned that we meet the minimum standards. And I look through basically from page 4 all the way through to page 30, whatever it was, 34. Are you comfortable that the ordinance as it's been drafted to date includes all the minimum standards that are necessary?
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we've done all that legwork, all those mandatory changes. Yes, most definitely. We're kind of like at a 95% completion at this point.
And we can knock ourselves out, I think, with some option elections. But I want to be mindful that what we really need to build on is a fundamentally compliant ordinance with the minimum standards that have been somewhat foisted on the local municipalities. And if the case is, yes, we meet those minimum standards, I think we might be able to develop a protocol to work through the options relatively quickly, quite frankly.
And Guy, I know you're.
I think that's a great suggestion.
So guys, the legal person, I know minimal standards are important, and I agree that is important. But I've also, as a board member, am concerned that we don't tax isn't the right word, but or put so much pressure on our residents. So minimum is important, and I'm glad that Jessica feels good about that. But I want to have some assurance that we haven't done anything in this document without good reason that puts additional burden on the residents unless there's a good reason for it. So I want both ends of it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
We'll meet in
And
the
that's
middle.
fair. Go ahead, Guy.
I was just going to say, and we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, because unless you want to actually become an engineer and go through it to that degree, but I don't think that's fair to anyone to expect Jessica or the community to go through it with a fine tooth comb. But I think Guy's right. If we can just look at, so first we know we're going to be in compliance, and then where we know we have options, that's great. Let's talk about those.
Right.
No.
Okay. So I'm gonna, I'll try and point out some of the key options here at this point. I'm gonna move right to, I'm on page 2 of the option spreadsheet. And I'm on line item number, it's the 4th line item, subsection 106.B.
106B, okay, hold on. This is the big one, okay. Okay.
Okay, and I'm gonna preface anything I say on this one. There are 2 options. Basically, you have an option to minimize thresholds for exempting or for requiring stormwater permits for various projects. First and foremost, we have not made any changes from the previous ordinance, number 1. So we did not make it more restrictive. We did not make it less restrictive. What the township had is working for them, is my understanding. To be more specific on that, basically your ordinance now says that any projects, and I lost my page, bear with me, that are 1,000 square feet or less of impervious surface and less than 5,000 square feet of earth disturbance are exempt from any stormwater management requirements. You can use a simplified approach for anything between 1,000 and 2,000 square feet of impervious area and between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet of earth disturbance. That's what your ordinance dictates now, and that is the option that we kept. We cannot make that, we can't make it any less restrictive than the 2,000 square foot impervious cap. Meaning you could not make it less restrictive to say, oh, if there's 5,000 square feet of impervious area, we're gonna not require stormwater management. You don't have that liberty based on DEP requirements. So we've kept it the same, essentially.
Yeah, and that's big, so thanks for that.
If you go on to, I'm going to go to the next item, 106C, modified requirement. This is actually more of a FYI statement, I'm going to say. This subsection lists activities that are exempt from stormwater management. We've left the list just the same as it is now. The exception is high tunnels, which are now added into the ordinance, and high tunnels now on an agricultural property can qualify for a modified stormwater permit as long as certain items qualifications are met. Just so you know, the high tunnel requirement, and I don't recall the act number in Pennsylvania, but there is already in place an act, state law that dictates stormwater management requirements for high tunnels. All the county or all DEP now has done is incorporate that into your local stormwater management ordinances. So it's all in one document. Just like I said, that's more of an FYI. And it really does help the local farmer, I'll say, when they're putting up additional structures like a high tunnel. It does alleviate them from needing some, instilling or constructing a lot of stormwater management that might not really be necessary. Let's see. Bear with me, I'm kind of skimming through, I apologize.
That's good.
Simplified approach, modified requirements for small projects. Again, what the township has in place, I kind of just ran through that a little bit on what's exempt and what qualifications you need to do.
So Jessica, where are you? You're 106D?
I'm sorry, yes, 106D, I apologize.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yep. Yeah, so the gist of it is that the model ordinance came up with a new simplified approach, I'll call it, which you could adopt into your ordinance, or you can keep your current simplified approach. Again, Franklin Township is not having any problems, issues, no need to change their simplified approach. We left it as is. I will point out the new simplified approach is a little tricky. It definitely is more restrictive to the small homeowner. So we said, nope, we don't want anything to do with that. What we have now is working. Let's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's perfect. Great. Okay.
Let's see. Skip that one.
No, it's my central. Can bring it back. Jessica, you really addressed the areas that I was the most concerned about when it comes to this simplified approach and small projects. So, I mean, I don't want to, if there's something else you want to call our attention to, that I'm happy to hear it. But I just want to say, I'm in a much better place now than I was when I started, because you're saying all the right things that you looked at. Yeah, it sounds like you had the same thought process that we have as a board. You looked at it, and you kept things the same based on the fact that we're not having any issues. So that's, I guess I would ask, is there anything you changed that that maybe you grappled with and something that we should consider? And if not, maybe I just wait for your track changes. I mean, what do you think?
Honestly, yeah, I was just, before you spoke up, I was about to say, hey, just bear with me. I'm zooming right through this. I'm on page 6. I'm not seeing anything. I mean, the items that I pointed out are the gist of this updated ordinance. And again, to reiterate, the fact that we're really not changing anything, but we had to go through the exercise of making sure, what is required to be changed is changed. And that we are keeping, what we feel is working for us in our ordinance. I don't know that I really have anything else to point out that's really critical. Well, I want one item, and this is always a big question as far as O&M responsibilities. The township does have the discretion to word the O&M agreements for a simplified project to what they feel works best for them. So I don't know that that's part of that last 5% that we haven't completed. That'll be something I'm looking at, and we'll work with Guy as far as the language is concerned. But again, what's in the O&M agreements for the township now, I really don't think is going to change. What we're trying to make sure doesn't happen is that, the small homeowner who's added, a small garage on their property doesn't have to go through a stormwater inspection every year, for the rest of the duration of that garage. It seems a little excessive. So the township does have the liberty or the discretion to make that language work for both the township and that small homeowner. So that's the kind of one of the last things we'll be looking at. But I believe right now in Franklin's ordinances, that language is already there and is not very restrictive. But I think we can pull it back a little bit if need be. So I did want to mention that because I know that's always a big concern.
So is that the section 702 towards the end?
Yeah, towards the end. Yep, exactly.
Okay, so I have one question for you. So subsection 402C9, do you know what that's about? Says if the municipality would like development projects to achieve volume, rate, and water quality controls using green infrastructure, low impact development of conservation design practices, then we should include subsection 402C9. I guess, did we do that, or are we going to do that, or did we decide we don't need to?
So required in the ordinance already for the the updated model ordinance is language that encourages what they call this low impact design and conservation. You have the ability as the township to require it versus recommend that it be used. We chose the first option, which is, I'll say, just recommending that it be incorporated into a project, but not required.
Great, thank
Because
you.
if you require it, just as an example, and an applicant isn't able to utilize that methodology, they have to provide evidence that they can't. And that can be very cumbersome for a small property project, homeowner, et cetera.
So once again, I think you've done a great job. So, thank you so much. I've turned over my board members, but I think you've really made me feel much more comfortable. And I look forward to seeing the track changes, but I'm in a much better place. So thank you.
Good, good.
I would like to thank both Jessica and Donna for being such amazing scrutinizers of all this information. And I appreciate all your diligent work on this because it's just simply amazing.
You're quite welcome. It can be very confusing. I will certainly admit that.
So for sure. Thank you, Jessica. So do we have any other questions on the stormwater management plan before we move on to the MS4 discussion with PennDOT? Okay, so just for clarity, we're gonna have Jessica send us that track change document to Jeff for us to look through. I think we're pretty comfortable, but we're going to take a look at that and work through this change document in front of us. And then if we have any other questions, we'll just reach back out to you.
Okay.
That sounds great. Okay. Thank you so much. So,
In case we're not tired of this enough, I would like to introduce David St. Clair to talk some more about MS4.
What's going on, everybody? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
we can.
All right. So Daryl St. Clair, I work in the executive office at PennDOT in Harrisburg. I enjoy working on stormwater and I manage our MS4 credit projects. I have Rich Heineman on the line with me. He works in our Bureau of Operations. He's actually in charge of everything else MS4, inspections of those basins and putting together the pollutant reduction plan and all that. So I have Rich available if you got any questions. But so I appreciated that comment that we had at the beginning of Act 167 there. I can't, you said you can't approve what you don't understand. You don't know what the cost is. So if you don't mind, maybe I give you a 2-minute PowerPoint on what this program is about. Is that okay if I share a screen?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
That'd be great.
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, I can. So
Doesn't like to share.
yeah, that's right. I'm going to have to multiple participants can share simultaneously. Does that?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, good.
Let's see if I hit the right button here. All right, you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, now I got this PowerPoint I provided to the Municipal Advisory Committee back in April. So I'm gonna sort of go over it quick and just the highlights that apply to you, but just notice it was April and I haven't updated everything yet. So just, hey, I thought this was neat at the time I was preparing the presentation. There was an article in Penn Live that EPA's looking out for us, making sure we're getting our sediment reductions. So let's just start with what the heck is MS4. So I like to envision it as, hey, you drive down Interstate 80 and there's no stormwater ponds anywhere, but then you drive down the turnpike and you see stormwater ponds everywhere. Well, that's because the design standards have changed as a result of MS4. So there was no, I'm a PennDOT historian of drainage policies. I've written most of them since I started in 1998. so I'm familiar with all the policies. So there actually we didn't have design standards until like the early 2000s to actually require stormwater ponds. So whenever you add impervious area, you're supposed to discharge that water into a pond, and before it, as opposed to sending it directly to a stream or whatnot. So that's and PennDOT on this. We're on actually on our 4th MS4 permit. This is the first one that we actually have to get MS4 credits. We're only the first year in on the 5-year permit term. Different municipalities are under different their permit terms. Some of them are up next June already. So we're all on different permit terms depending on when you work with DEP. All right, so we are here because DEP allows PennDOT and municipalities to share MS4 credits with each other. So why did they do that? So PennDOT has an MS4 permit. We calculate all of our impervious surfaces across the state, and we have what you call a load that you factor in, and that tells you how much pounds of sediment you need to reduce and phosphorus and nitrogen. And then municipalities also have that same requirement, and they're including the state highway impervious surface in their permit too. So in reality, DEP and EPA are getting double the load of what's actually out there. So they allow us to share and get 100% of the credits each. So I'm just having an example here. This is our first partnership project. PennDOT put up 1 million, and Capital Region Water and Harrisburg, they put up 1 million. We both get $2 million worth of credit each. So we saved the taxpayers real dollars here. I saved the state taxpayer $1 million, and the locals in Harrisburg saved their local based taxpayers $1 million because of the advantage of this policy and knowing about it. Again, this isn't an all-inclusive list. Again, this was who I would work with back from April. So I'm not going to go down through all the lines there, but so what is the contract mechanism? So PennDOT has 3 watershed-based contracts across the Ohio. We have Ohio watershed, Chesapeake Bay, and Delaware. And we hire a vendor that goes out and does all this, gets all this stuff for us. We just hand them money. So it's called design, build, operate, maintain. So basically we're purchasing a credit, a pound of sediment from the vendor. And these were low bid contracts. The vendor gets to pick the location. We're trying to get the most cost-effective, lowest cost to meeting our MS4 goals. So we don't want to force the location. Let the vendor pick it, and that's how you get the cheapest cost. So our first project was actually off of I-83 in York County back in 2019. So got before and immediate after photo right now. There's DP. We're in monitoring. And this is not eroding. DP actually is like grandfathering us in a 95% efficiency, which means efficiency is how much it erodes over time. So it doesn't erode after they build it. So it's pretty neat how they design these things, the stream restorations. This is just another one in Harrisburg, Paxton Creek. You look at the size of that, the before photo on that one with the erosion of the stream. So this one was built last fall, and it's done now. All right, what does it cost? So we were averaging about $253 a pound until we hit inflation. So that one I have in the middle where it says 560, that was just bid, let's say about 2 months ago after we had the inflation. So the inflation cost us double, but still a very good price. And I should compare it to if you want to get your stormwater credit or credits through retrofitting a stormwater pond, that's going to cost you $18 a pound as opposed to doing stream restoration where you're $1.95 a pound. So you're never going to see $1.95 a pound again to get your stormwater credits. This is an amazing deal for the Chesapeake Bay watershed. All right, so what's involved for the township? If you're interested in partnering with us, get the contract's already bid. So you would sign I have a legal agreement template. You would sign it, it says, hey, we're partnering, and it would say how much money you'd be partnering with. Next step is you would send a check to PennDOT. Now, I just learned something last week, and we are actually, if your solicitor would support it, we would actually prefer that you would pay the vendor directly, just because I learned that whenever a municipality sends us a check, it now becomes state dollars, and we have to have something called capital budget authority in order to spend that. So it actually costs us money now in order to spend your money. So we actually, and we came up with another process that you could actually just pay the vendor directly. I'll explain that here shortly, which avoids all that and avoids you having to send the check in right now. You could pay the vendor after construction's complete. We don't have to hold your check, but we could go either way. So PennDOT, I manage the contract. We have good relations with DP. They provide expedited permits on these. DP goes to school to do this stuff. They love stream restoration. So they jump on this project, get all the permits real fast. So the deliverable would include something called a pollutant reduction plan. The vendor would give you your pollutant reduction plan that you would turn in as part of your MS4 permit. They do all the work for you. Again, the vendor gets all the permits. You could inspect and help with community outreach. All right,
Hey,
so disclaimers.
David, may I ask a question? This is Guy Donatelli. I am the solicitor for the township. Would you mind going back to the prior slide? So one of the questions I have is, and this is may seem too rudimentary, but is this a one and done? In other words, if we arrive at an agreement and we decide it makes sense from a red tape perspective, please excuse that language, but it makes sense from a red tape perspective to pay the vendor directly. Once a township or a municipality does that, is it done? Is it compliant, or is there going to be a potential? You talked about, erosion of a stream. What if it erodes again? Are these agreements evergreen, or once my client pays, it can go about its business and allow other folks to make sure the program runs smoothly?
Yeah, and so these are sort of risk. We balance that risk for you. So we have the vendor on the hook for 5 years, and we withhold PennDOT, not your money, but we'll hold money in our bank account that we won't give them. We won't pay them their final deliverables until the end of the 5-year permit term. So we absolutely have them on the hook for 5 years. In addition to that, there's contract language that they are to provide the long-term steward and conservation easements, and the vendor res in this situation, they put money in escrow in case it would erode in the future and they would have to go back in and fix it. So the very low risk on the township to have to maintain anything here.
So I appreciate.
PennDOT would go in and.
Is that escrow just for 5 years?
No, that escrow's forever and ever.
Go for it. Okay.
Contracts for 5 years, and then escrow's forever and ever.
Oh, okay.
Let me add, whenever I say pay the vendor directly, there's additional piece to that I left out. So PennDOT has a purchase order with the vendor res. We would, once you signed a legal agreement, we would issue a change order to the purchase order, and we would reference language in there into the purchase order that would tie the township into the contract. That way you have that extra link. So where you have enforcement abilities on the vendor if you wanted it, et cetera. I can give you examples of what other townships, but they have the ability to add extra terms and conditions onto the vendor if they want to. So there's that extra leverage there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What happens if the vendor in that 5-year period, the vendor does go bankrupt and doesn't do the work?
If they go bankrupt, yeah, though they don't. It's deliverable based, so we give them a little bit of money up front, we give them a little bit of money in the middle, give money at the end. So PennDOT would, if the vendor went there, this is a huge company, they have most of our contracts. I don't see that would happen, but PennDOT would go out for bid for another, or hire another vendor and
Are there
do the work.
performance bonds?
No, we don't require bonds, but it's more of deliverable based. We we pay them, I'll just go over the deliverables. We pay them for what we call a conceptual pollutant reduction plan. So it's a sort of a draft plan. Then we pay them again for the final plan. Then we pay them again at 25%, 50%, 75%, 100% construction. And then we maintain money for long-term maintenance. So we balance the risk and have constant deliverables along the way. So that way they're not getting a lot of money up front and they could walk away.
All those funds are delivered after the fact, right? Meaning that the 25, 50, 75, 100 is after they've done 25%, then we give.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
PennDOT. So you would,
I apologize. I thought you said, and I may have misunderstood, this is a difficult forum to have this discussion, and tell me if you'd like me to wait till the end, but I thought you said PennDOT will withhold its portion, but the township pays its portion up front. Did I hear that incorrectly?
oh, right. That's the way we used to do it. You would used to have to provide money up front. What I'm recommending now is it's actually better for us that you pay when you're ready. So you don't have to pay in now. So we could wait until it's 25% construction. You could wait a little bit and then send us the check. So it's up to you doing it whenever you want to send the money to balance that risk. Because PennDOT we already have an initial executed contract with them, and they're getting the permits right now. So if you want to wait a little bit until construction starts, just to make sure everything's good, and then you send your check in, that's good. Whatever you want to do to balance your risk. So whenever we send this legal agreement to you, and I don't know if you have a copy yet or not, hey, our attorneys don't like you to change the language within that legal agreement. The next clause in there. So just realize I was doing this presentation asking for municipalities to partner up front.
OCC, Office of Chief Counsel?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Our attorneys don't like us to change the language, and it's a template. So it delays things whenever you try to change the language in there. The rest of the items on here really aren't relevant. Just let me just some extra background on MS4. PennDOT has an individual permit. Most municipalities, but not all, have a general permit. So if you have a general permit, you accept the what do you call it? The terms and conditions of what DEP offers you as far as how much sediment you need to maintain. If you chose to go the individual permit route, you get to negotiate with DEP. We chose the individual permit. So our loading requirement is 10% for the Chesapeake Bay, 5% for the Delaware, and 5% for the Ohio. It actually costs, so you're going to may say, I think you're in the base, you're 10%, you're probably equivalent with us, but if you're outside the bay, say, how's that fair? It actually costs more money to get sediment reductions outside the bay, and I'll explain that to you on the next slide. So PennDOT, if you're inside the Chesapeake Bay, yeah, Chesapeake Bay is a TMDL, but if you're outside the Chesapeake Bay, PennDOT was not assigned a TMDL, and municipalities are only assigned a TMDL if there's an impaired stream. This slide is just what the heck is an MS4 credit? So it's a pound of sediment. It's the width times the height times the soil density times a sediment delivery ratio. I'll show that to you on the next slide, times the efficiency. Efficiency is how much it erodes over time. The default efficiency that DEP grant says is 50%. If you want to pay a consultant to monitor year after year, which we are here, PennDOT is paying for it, you don't have to. You're allowed to claim up to 90% efficiency. So it's cheaper. Whenever you see red on this map here, that this is called a heat map, the sediment delivery ratio is actually higher. It goes up to 0.6. So in that equation I showed you, you get more pounds of sediment if you're in the red areas. So you're in the red areas here, and this is why our vendor has been reaching out to you to try to partner. This is just our permit status as of last April. PennDOT has all of its MS4 credits, so we're in the business of just trying to create good relationships with municipalities from here on in, allowing you to piggyback off our contracts. So that I'm going to stop sharing. I'll let you go ahead and ask questions then.
Yeah, I think we've already started on it, but the key issues for me anyways would be this understanding what happens if things go wrong, right? What happens, and that's, and I guess I would have our solicitor guy look at your contract and make sure that we're covered, but that would be the biggest concern,
Yeah,
right? We
the
just think-
benefit with you partnering with PennDOT is just you get to point to PennDOT and say, hey, what's going on here? If you didn't, you're on your own. So,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
you would look to PennDOT to try to help you.
Is it, so, as I'm listening to you, Mr. St. Clair, it almost looks like you're I don't want to say an indemnitor or an underwriter, but once the township contributes its monetary amounts, it can sit back, having complied with its obligations to reduce pollutants. And if there's a problem, we go see you guys. Is that
Yep.
a simple way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, now
absolutely.
is that sort of language, and I haven't seen your template, but I've dealt with Office of Chief Counsel before. The language in these templates, is it that clear? Or are there ways that
Yeah, between the legal agreement and the contract, yeah, it's
clear?
pretty clear.
Okay, no,
Yeah,
but no.
there's one
no-
indemnification clause that solicitors sometimes have trouble. Basically, the indemnification clause says, hey, if you go out to our vendor and tell them to do something and they screw something up, then we're going to be looking to you to correct it. But if you don't tell the vendor to do anything else, then you're good.
Right, so
Some solicitors get hung up on that, but
No, I get that, because, one of the dangers of speaking without speaking to your client first is that you may misinterpret their goals. But I think what Franklin would like to do is be legally compliant. And this is the patina I'm going to put on it. My client probably wouldn't say this way, but then they don't want to have to worry about it.
Right.
In other words, they want to comply with the law. They want to make sure that they do that. They want to see the program work, because there's an interest in Franklin to achieve cleaner water and less pollutants. But they don't want to have to sit around and worry about it. They want someone with subject matter expertise, time, energy, and resources to assure, to basically underwrite, to make sure it's not going to be responsible after it makes its contributions and signs whatever legal agreements you'd like us to sign. So that's the framework with which I'm approaching it. And if I'm incorrect, you should let me know that, because I can be educated.
Yep, absolutely. These credits are certified by DEP before you're buying them. Let me give you an analogy. New Garden Township, which is close to in Chester, they were going to go off on their own, and they were going to hire a vendor. And it turned out, PennDOT did some research. It turned out that the DEP did not validate, or those credits weren't legit. So that New Garden Township was going to invest millions of dollars hiring a vendor to get credits that didn't count. New Garden ended up partnering with us, and we discovered all this and was able to correct everything for them, and went to a different vendor. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Can you get me, if I give you my contact information, can you get me this template, or is there someplace online I can find it?
No, just send me an email. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Okay, we'll talk to each other offline as far as contact information.
So this is Nancy Morris, Township Supervisor. I guess I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. So, big storm comes through, all the trees, all the stream restoration project that we paid for in partnership with you by the vendor, all the trees get washed away. Then what happens? We're not required.
They cut the trees down. Stream restoration, they cut all the trees down. They put the trees underneath the ground, perpendicular to the stream. So there's no loss of trees, because they're cut down before they restore the stream. So the only risk is if a hurricane came in and eroded the stream. But
Yeah, I think that's the question is,
Yeah.
100-year storm comes through and blows up your stream restoration progress. What happens?
Yeah, you would
then?
be able to, it's same answers before. You'd be able to look to PennDOT to say, all right, you got to help us out here since you partnered off our project with us, and PennDOT would go after that. If it's within 5 years, we still have money in an account. If it's after 5 years, we would go after the escrow. I anticipate PennDOT would have some type of on-demand contracts in a couple of years in case that this ever happens. But again, you have a very good vendor, so they've done a project and they have several projects across the state, including banks. But we have this one from 2019 and went through a couple very significant storms, and it didn't erode an inch yet. So we'll balance that risk for you.
What kind of timeline are we operating with here for our decision on whether or not to partner?
Yeah, it's up to you. PennDOT's already under contract doing the work. I think you're just you would just add extra money into the contract to get your credits. They would do construction next spring. I know they're already in the permitting process because I was out there walking the.
Maybe I don't understand.
So they already have it.
So I guess I'm confused. I guess maybe I misunderstood something, that I thought the extreme restoration would be taking place within our township.
No.
Okay. That's the piece I'm missing. Okay, so you're already doing the program. We will just pay you money and then we'll get credit.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe you're under a Big Elk Creek collaborative, so you're going to get credit for the other projects that are being built in the area.
Okay, and now I understand. That was the missing piece that I was missing. Okay.
So they're going on their own. And then if more money we give them, it's also comes out of their pocket.
Okay.
But it's all happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But it takes care of us for 5 years. To Guy's point, which I like the way he put it, is just we want to be able to get involved and then not worry about it. So.
Yeah. What's our risk?
Yeah, Daryl, this is Rich Hardeman. The only thing that you're going to have to, you asked about time frame, is whenever your MS4 permit's up, right? So you have your own MS4 permit, pollutant reduction plan time period. So you have to meet that sediment reduction, that project in the ground, whenever your MS4 period is up. I'm not sure when yours is. I'm
Good
sorry.
question. When's your permit up? Good question.
Yeah, right. Isn't it up?
Good.
I chuckle because your Franklin Township's 5-year starting time hasn't started yet, technically.
Okay.
We are still in the process of acquiring our permits. They are required, but they have not been issued yet. So,
Wow, you're like, I thought PennDOT was the last one. Wow.
Yep. This has been an ongoing.
Okay. Well, you got plenty of time.
We got lots of time.
Yeah.
So that, in that sense, that's, I think, to the township's advantage. My understanding in speaking with DEP in regards to our permits is that once this project is implemented, the township will be able to take credit for it. It will not be a problem. And just because they, meaning you, Franklin Township, doesn't have a permit issued yet, doesn't mean you can't participate in this program. Either. So just to clarify that.
So
preferred, but it's not required.
So I guess I'm going to ask a very cynical question, which is there a strategy to maximize the amount of time where we don't have to do anything and then write the check and get the maximum amount of coverage? I know that's a very cynical question, but we were talking about where we are with the permitting and kind of being in limbo here. I'm not saying we're doing that. I'm just curious as to the process.
I can kind of answer that. So we're kind of in a, for a while, Franklin Township, we submitted permits back in 2020 for review with DEP, the PRP and the TMDL plan. Actually, there was a PRP waiver request that was submitted. We had not gotten responses from DEP for some time. This opportunity with PennDOT and this partnership kind of presented itself, and the township directed us to reach out to DEP again and see, okay, where's the status of our permits? And at the time, our understanding was that you kind of needed the permit to participate in the program. So DEP did get back to us. They have reviewed the applications that we made. So it is kind of, I don't know how much time the township has necessarily, but we do there are revisions to be made to the applications that were made previously. So we do have to kind of follow through with that, is my opinion. Now, honestly, as the township, you can make the decision to not resubmit a revised permit. You know, that is totally the township's decision to make. I'm not sure the consequence of doing that, quite honestly, other than monetary fines in the future. But that I'm unclear with, and I'd have to kind of.
No, I think, the goal here is to get everything behind us as quickly as possible. But I was out of curiosity if there is a timeline. I wanted to make sure we are covered for the maximum amount of time we can.
Yeah.
I think Nancy, I think I heard your voice. Yeah. Okay.
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay. So the next.
But if I could, since I got the floor. So really our only other option, board, I guess, is to plant trees in that area, which would require homeowners to give up their land for trees. So, I mean, we don't want to do retention basins. We've gone through that process. I think doing our own stream restoration, similar to New Garden, probably wouldn't be the most efficient way to go. So I just wanted to kind of lay out what our options are.
So we would have to actually create our own project. So that I think you might have the same issue that I had, which was the stream restoration project that PennDOT is undertaking isn't in Franklin Township. Like,
Well, that's true.
If we pay our money, it doesn't extend the project into Franklin Township. It just takes care of our MS4 credits. We would have to find a stream project to work on.
Yeah.
And fulfill that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Or property where people want a bunch of trees planted.
Right. We would have to identify that project, which I don't think we have.
No.
Okay.
And if I can, just on that note, for the area in Franklin Township where this is applicable for the PRP plan, you know, in the plan that LTL had prepared but didn't submit in lieu of a waiver request, keep in mind your options for fulfilling this requirement are really kind of limited based on the urbanized area. It's such a small area in Franklin, and the projects are supposed to be in that area. So utilizing space in another township is really kind of advantageous to you.
Yeah, you're reminding me, Jessica, you did tell us that it was very specific land. It couldn't just be any land in that area. It had to be urbanized land. So yeah, it's pretty tough. It's pretty fine needle to thread.
I think one benefit to this program, I mean, there's many, but a benefit I should say, is it gives us 5 years to figure out what our next project is, right? I don't know if that makes sense, Jessica, what I just said, but we have 4 years, like it's good for, the credits are good for what, 5 years, right? Is that how that works? And then we have to do it again?
Yeah, it's depending on how DEP dictates the next permit cycle. So currently you're responsible for meeting 10% of your sediment load reduction. And I spoke with someone recently, and I think it was just on a forum the other week, where DEP has not made a decision yet for this next 5-year permit cycle as to what that reduction requirement will be. It could be 10% again, it could be 5%, it could be 20%, who knows? They don't know yet. So yes, you're good for 5 years, but we don't know what the next 5 years will mandate. Now you could really get a lot of bang for your buck and say, you know what, we're going to purchase credits for that whole sediment load 100%. And then, you know, you've got it for a pretty decent amount of time. Obviously a larger financial investment, but it would be an option. My understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, is that the township, you can purchase as many or as few credits as you so choose.
Yeah, we're over our credits by 100%. So we're hoping the right now DP is verbally saying, hey, you could apply your permits to the next permit term. So we have, but there is that risk that the next permit term could be something else. It may get involved with the WIP phase 4, you know, which probably wouldn't come out until 2025. I think the WIP phase 3, if you know what that is was the 2025 was the date. So there has to be a whole process again to figure out what's the new requirements going to be for Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, and you know, I wouldn't hold my breath too long waiting for that, truthfully. Let's hope we're all retired by the time this whole project or implementation comes into place.
So I think we got a lot of our questions answered, but I should go around the horn. Jim, Donna.
I just want, just to be clear here, each 5 year, if we keep going in 5 year increments, they're all additive, right? So it might be 10% this time, then let's another 10, and then another 10, and as we keep building up to 100%, right? So any project we do in the first 5 year is the credits remain in perpetuity. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. As long as it doesn't erode away.
Right.
It's annual. The unit is annual pounds of sediment.
So we have we have a sediment debt that we are trying to pay off, right? Is that another way of saying it? Like we have a sediment debt, and then we're going to take 10%
Right.
off that debt this year.
Yeah.
And then, okay,
Every 5 years. Yep.
every 5
Yeah,
years.
good point.
Okay.
And so even if none of the sediment from this township ever gets moved out of this township, it'll get caught somewhere down the stream. In theory.
So I think the comment, I don't know if you understand what the comment is we're paying money into a system, but we're not addressing any erosion issues in Franklin Township. Right, so the stormwater project, we're getting credits for a project that's outside of Franklin Township, even though it's our stormwater debt.
Our district offices are the same way. All these projects are just in Lancaster, York, Dauphin, Lebanon, or a couple of counties, but yet all of our districts across the state have to pay in. So
it all has to get. I guess the other way you look at it all has to get done. Maybe that's how you justify it, rationalize it, but okay.
And that was my question too, was, in our township, what happens if we discover something that needs done in our township? Can we use some of that as credits against it? Right. That was my question as well.
We get more credits.
Yeah, you get more.
If
Once you
only.
have the credits, you can't get them back. So you just get more credits.
Right, we can over credit.
We can get more.
Period, it'll just carry on.
Yeah, so we can still do projects and we get more credits.
Get bonus credit.
We get bonus credit. All right.
Well, I was happy until I heard you say that we get those credits unless it erodes away. Now, I'm assuming you're saying after 5 years?
At any time, yeah. That's what we talked about risk. You come to PennDOT and PennDOT would go after the vendor and tell them to fix it.
Yeah. As an MS4 permittee, you have to ensure that any BMP or projects that you do are still functioning,
Yes.
no matter how long. So that's what Daryl meant, is that, we have safe gap or safeties in place to make sure if something would happen, it's someone else's responsibility. I know for PennDOT, we're reducing millions of pounds, and this is the way that we're going. So, because we're not in a stream restoration business, I'll be the first one to tell you that. So, we're kind of like a municipality where, we could have had our crews go out and try to do different things, but we felt it'd be better to get someone that has more expertise and that has a better environmental impact, right? Someone going out there that's fixing a stream that's already eroding and bringing it back so it doesn't cause any more additional problems down the road. So that's what I think what Daryl alluded to, is that, there's always that risk. We feel that it's a minimal risk. And who knows what the next permit cycle is. You might have to just do this once, and the next permit cycle might not have any sediment reduction, or it might have 15%. So
Okay, fair
we'll
enough.
test it when and if the EP comes out. So, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would just re-summarize your solicitor's point where, hey, all the risk is coming back to PennDOT now, you point to PennDOT and say, all right, you got to help us out here, where you wouldn't have that if you did this on your own.
So I guess my question would be, who's policing the stability of the restoration, right? So
The
it's not
first
gonna be
5
an-
years,
Yeah,
first 5 years, the vendor has to prepare a monitoring report and get it certified by DP, or else they don't get paid by us. After that,
okay.
then PennDOT will get together. PennDOT will have to go out and inspect them. But we'll
Okay,
get
so
together.
it's not really on, so if something goes sideways, we will get alerted from the vendor or from PennDOT to say, the stream blew up and now we're getting, we're trying to work with the vendor to fix it or something like that.
Yeah, we manage everything for you.
Okay,
And just, I know you've heard this all before, it's the contract that's gonna be important, because the downside of this setup is that it doesn't happen in Franklin Township. The upside is, depending on what the contract says, it's, you pay your money and you don't have to worry about it. So I think having Guy look at this contract and coming back to us saying he's comfortable with it or not, is gonna be a really important aspect for me, because it has to bounce off the fact that we're not affecting Franklin Township land at this point.
okay. All right, so any other questions for
Daryl and
Daryl?
Rich.
Daryl and Rich, yeah, I was looking for Rich's face, I couldn't see it. So Daryl and Rich. All right, not hearing any. Thank you very much. So I guess moving
All right.
forward, Daryl, you're gonna get with Guy a copy of the template for review. And then depending on the timing of that review, we can likely discuss this as an agenda item on the October meeting. Okay,
Yeah, I'll make sure that Daryl and Guy get put together with emails. I'll do
All right.
that tomorrow.
great, thank you, Jeff.
And thank you, Daryl, for coming this evening on such short notice.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We've been talking about this for a few months now, and we had a lot of outstanding questions, so you were able to answer them. So thank you.
All right, thanks. I'm gonna get going. I'll see you.
Thanks, Daryl.
Okay, so let's see. This is going to be Jeff, just to provide a quick update on the stormwater and paving projects.
Churchill Road done?
Churchill Road is not,
Mm.
well, you have to remember
Okay, you tell us.
you have to remember with the weather and everything else. So, the most recent update that I received today. The paving overlay should happen later this week for Churchill.
For Churchill, okay.
Weather dependent. That's gonna be a key phrase for everything. Glenlock, Heather Hills and Highland were milled today. Again, this all depends on the upcoming weather and how much rain we're gonna be receiving. Wage run, hopefully we can get back to that and start tomorrow or the next day. Again, weather is holding us up. We then hope to go to Freedom's Court afterwards, which has been a project that's been on hold for some time. Because we're trying to prioritize other things that are more important to get done. But just to go real quick with this, October 5th, paving Churchill Road between the schoolhouse and Queen Lane, that section in there, it will be one pass paving, no through traffic. October 6th, a Parsons Road sections is outlined, we discussed before. And if our luck holds out, hopefully we can start paving Glenlock, Highland Drive, and Heather Hills Drive Friday. And it may still over to Monday. Again, this is all one pass paving. We're gonna get a much better product at the end of the day. And residents will be inconvenienced for a while this is being done. We have put updates on the township website and asked people to look at that. our Facebook page as well. Jim Durazio has done a line share work with the stormwater pipe and the inlet boxes. And so we thank him for that, but he really stepped up to the plate with Verizon had set us back for a while regarding some of the markings out there. So between Ron Reagan and myself, we will always wish that we were ahead of where we are at present, but you know, we can live with what we have right now with everything that we faced. We faced a lot with this project.
Are you getting any complaints from township residents because Churchill is taking so long?
Not because it's taken so long. There was some conflict. I shouldn't say conflict, that's the wrong terminology. Our contractor had Long's Paving had let the school district know.
Yeah, I remember
The
that.
school district was supposed to let the
Bus drivers.
individual bus drivers know. So I think there was a breakdown in between the bus drivers and the school district.
Melissa took care of that, but
Yeah,
but
I
nothing
did.
else. Okay.
Yeah, I did reach out to the school district on Friday and just making sure that both they and Longs are in contact with each other. I did get a phone call or two on Friday. You know, one of the residents from Thompson Estates was very understanding after talking with them about what had happened, and she understands it's short-term pain for a long-term goal here. I did get a call from another resident within Thompson Estates and tried talking with him. He has one side of the story with the school buses, and they check things out on my end, so I apologize to him, and you know, it wasn't to his liking, but we're trying our best with it, and it did, in fact, the school bus drivers were informed. So it's just tough with such a project like that.
And you can't control the weather. Thanks.
Last year we were concerned about, I don't know what the right term is, but kind of a drop dead day where we're not allowed to do road work beyond a certain time. Is this, I don't think that's a concern this year.
That's not a concern right now. I'm gonna say it this way, I don't feel we're gonna have a problem.
Okay.
As long as we can get the rain to stop, which it looks like it's going to in the next day or two. Longs is pretty efficient, and I really feel they'll bang it out and get it done correctly.
And I think this year we're gonna make another change to our road program bidding process to get it out earlier. Try to do it a lot sooner so we can get ahead of the schedule.
That will always be our goal when we have some roads for next year. As I had mentioned to the board before, we have the potential for a couple of very large stormwater management projects. That Ron's really going to have to sharpen his pencil with. One of them being in Thompson Estates, a big infiltration pit.
Yeah.
And then probably we may be looking at another infiltration pit or two in Southview Estates. And this is something that's failed because of age. It's just, I just don't want the board to be shocked, but it's got the potential to take a large part of our road program for next year.
So we might not be doing many roads next year. Is that what you're
As
saying?
far as paving, that's a possibility. So
Well, okay. So I think 'cause one thing we might, I mean, this is aspirational, but maybe we can try and get this paving started in the summertime where we don't have to worry about the school buses and kind of eliminate that variable. I don't know the answer to get that done other than we decide roads before, you know, the winter's over. But that's always kind of touchy.
I thought we did it early this year too.
We did earlier this year. Yeah, we did. We got it done early this year.
And Ron and I talked about this. And I don't want to misstate it, but this is my interpretation of what
Yeah.
Ron was trying to tell me. We can do a road program based on quantity.
Hmm.
And then if we get something that blows up in the winter time, we can shift it.
Yeah,
We still have that quantity.
so we could, for example, say current state, here's the five roads we're gonna do. And then in April, we can say, or March, we'll say, well, we're taking these 2 roads off because such and such blew up over the winter.
And
Okay,
we had that one back, and then he still has the same length of.
same, right.
Okay, that's a good.
That might be a good way to, I'm not saying that we did anything wrong this year. It's just, it seems like the last couple of years, we've been talking about this in October. You know, maybe we can figure out how to get it earlier. So,
Yeah, that would be great.
all right, thank you, Jeff. Good update.
Thank you.
All right, so if there isn't, before we move on, are any questions or comments on our paving program or our stormwater work that we're doing this year? Okay, not hearing any, I will open it up for public comment. This public comment may include comments on anything attendees may want to share. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a township resident or a taxpayer of the township. I'm not sure if we have any township.
I'd like to mention something.
Well, you're a board member.
I didn't know when else to mention it. It's, I just want to remind people that we are planting trees at Crossan Park tomorrow at 4 o'clock. If you can get there, Greg has been doing an incredible job, but there's still about 275 trees to go. And I think tomorrow they're going to be parking near the soccer fields. So you don't have to take a long walk. And honestly, like my granddaughter and I came Saturday, we could do everything but hammer the stakes. So a few strong people who can hammer stakes would be great. So, you know, if you can't bend over, there's jobs you can do that don't require bending.
Can you repeat when that starts?
Tomorrow at 4 o'clock
Tomorrow.
at Crossan Park at the soccer fields.
Okay.
And I'm a township supervisor too, but I just wanted to make a quick thank you to Jeff, because Jeff wears so many hats. I wanted to thank him today. In the middle of everything he was doing today, he had to take a call from Dawn Dowling about 2 loose horses that were trotting down the middle of Peacedale Road. And I had to try to catch them and return them to their home, which was successful. But he had to get 2 calls from me in the middle of everything else he was doing today.
Well, kudos to you for catching the horses. Good job.
Well, actually, I circled around down on Walker Road, came back, and by the time I had got it, Steve Jones had caught the horses, was bringing them back to the Aldridges, and I gave Steve and his daughter a ride home. So they all got home safely, but it was quite a to-do on Peacedale Road.
Big day in Franklin Township. All right. Any other public comments? Okay, well, not hearing any, I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:48 p.m. May I have a second? All
Yes.
right. If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah.
Good night.
Melissa.
I want to hire her.